It only takes one video to blow up. I've been on YouTube for the last 16 years. My first ever upload on YouTube was September 28th, 2007. I was literally 10 years old. Since then, I've started and stopped several channels. I've had highs, I've had lows, and today we're gonna talk all about my tips and advice on how to start and grow a YouTube channel based on the last 16 years I've had on this platform. If you're new to this channel, my name is Celine. I post lifestyle videos all about life in my 20s, living in Toronto, productivity, self-development. Also share my YouTube journey with you guys. I did a video all about my YouTube monetization journey. One of the top things I was getting asked was to talk about how to actually start and my tips for beginners. I've explored a lot of different things on YouTube, so I'm really excited to dive into this. So let's talk about the very basics first. If you're watching this video, you probably already have some sort of YouTube account that you're watching this from, which is great. That's the first step. What's kind of new in the last year that YouTube rolled out is having a handle. So it's kind of similar to Instagram or Twitter where you have your @ handle. I would say it's become a lot more common for people to just use their real names. A lot of lifestyle girlies on here do like the first and middle name. I just use Celine Like Dion. It's actually the handle I started from Instagram. Shameless plug, it's also Celine Like Dion. Create your channel, put a nice banner up, put a profile picture up. Those are the things that are on your actual channel page. A quote that I like is, dress for the job you want. So even if you have 0 subscribers, just take the time to make your channel look like how you'd want to come across when people do start finding it. For my channel banner, I use Canva. We'll talk more about Canva and graphic design tools and stuff like that in the editing and thumbnails portions of this video. Another big piece is figuring out what you want your channel to be about. And this is when you hear people talking about niching. To niche or not to niche. A niche is basically a genre slash subgenre that your videos can fall within. I personally decided I didn't want to focus on a very specific niche for this channel. And I think there's pros and cons to both sides of it. The niche channel, I think, was really common for a while because you can most likely grow faster, especially when you're just starting out. People will more likely know what they can expect from your channel and they'll be more inclined, I think, to subscribe because they know what your channel's about and the type of videos they can expect. Not having a niche can be slower just because it'll take a bit more time to figure out your audience. You should have an audience in mind. That's another big thing, is who are the people that you want to attract to your channel. And with not niching, I think that does take a bit more time to figure out. This channel right now, I would say, is not super niche. I do have certain key pillars and types of videos that I focus on, but I don't want to be just known for one thing. Mostly because I feel like I have several interests. I want to be able to share different styles of videos. The other thing I would say about niching slash not niching is I think it would probably be easier for you to transition from not niched to focusing on a niche if that niche is already a genre that you've been making videos about. So you're basically just focusing in on one section of your channel and you've decided to niche. That's why I would say if you're just starting out, this is the perfect time to explore and try whatever you want. Some brutal honesty, but if you don't have viewers, no one's gonna care. And that's a great thing when you're just starting because there's no expectations, you're not letting anyone down. It's just getting over the hurdle of starting. That's the hardest part. You just have to go for it. Try to have fun with the process. Obviously, you'll need something to actually make videos with. And I think in the simplest form, you only need 2 things when you're starting out. One is something to film the video with, and the second thing is something that you can edit and upload your video with. You'll hear this time and time again, but I truly believe you can 1000% start your YouTube channel with just a smartphone. Almost every phone that's been released in the last few years has perfectly good camera capabilities for you to start filming, and with a smartphone you can do the editing, you can do the posting. Also want to mention that nearly every one of my videos have at least some clips that are filmed on my phone, but I know you guys probably still want to know about what I use specifically. So I film currently with a Sony ZV-1 and it's the camera that I'm currently using. Before getting the Sony ZV-1, I actually used the Canon G7X Mark II. I would say between these two, these are like the most common vlog style cameras that are on YouTube. So I have a video on my channel that is the unboxing and comparison. I'll link that below and on the screen if you guys want to check that out. I would say honestly either of these cameras work great. I just prefer this current setup that I have. Also for my camera, I get a lot of questions on the lens attachment. So on the Sony ZV-1, you can't remove the lens. So the lens you get is what you get, but you can buy an extra attachment. So this is the newer wide angle lens attachment, quite a mouthful. I know of two different brands that make these. Newer is the one that I have. There's also the LUTs one. This one is pretty big, so sometimes I don't use it if I'm out and about, but it's under $100, and if you like the look of a wider lens, I highly recommend it. The next thing that a lot of people talk about is audio. Audio is 50% of the viewing experience. For over a year of making videos, I didn't use any other type of microphone. I will say, looking back, the audio has gone a lot better since I've used an external microphone, which is attached to my camera. I use the Sony ECM G1. This is made for Sony cameras. Another really popular one is the Rode microphone. If I could go back, I probably would have invested in one a little bit sooner because it did make a big difference in my opinion. I mostly, like as in 99% of the time, use natural light, hence I'm always sitting at our window. It's a little trickier to film because you have to have good natural lighting, and when it's cloudy or the winter time, filming is a challenge. I'll just say, like, I use it because it's easier for me and I like the way it looks, and I am not very educated in lighting. I think the benefits of having a lighting setup is you can control it and you can film at any time of the day. I do have a ring light. I got this on Amazon. I'll link a lot of the stuff I talk about in the description, by the way. Only rarely use this when I am desperately without lighting. I just don't think this is the best lighting for YouTube videos personally, but I've made it work. It's a pretty cheap option if you can just like play around with it a bit. I would invest in a tripod if you're gonna get a camera, just because you don't want to be putting it on like stacks of things, having it fall over. It's happened to me before and I hated myself for it after. Just get a nice tripod. There's a lot of tripods on Amazon. This is the one that I absolutely love, the Manfrotto tripod. It is pretty small, but I use this a lot. Big ones that I use, one I'm currently using, I just got on Amazon. It's a pretty standard type of tripod. You can also get attachments. Some of the tripods come with attachments, so you can put your smartphone on it. And then within your camera, you're gonna need a memory card. A memory card is what your camera stores all of your footage on. Pretty self-explanatory. This is a really cheap memory card that I have. It is from SanDisk. It's not like the highest quality of memory card. I just tried the next level up and it is way faster to transfer footage, but either of those I've used and I like, and I feel like SanDisk is pretty commonly used. Editing files and footage take up a lot of space on your computer, so I would suggest getting a hard drive. This is the Lacy one. I really like it. I tried to not get one for a long time, but it just kept slowing down my computer. So I would highly recommend, if you're gonna be editing lots of videos, to get one of these. You would need some type of device to do your editing on and uploading. Unless you decide to use a phone, I would suggest a laptop, of course. I use the MacBook Pro 14-inch. It works really well for me. I think it was one of the best investments I've made. And then the actual editing part, I'm gonna talk more about the process in a later section in this video. In terms of like equipment, I guess, I do use Final Cut Pro to edit my videos. I got a lot of questions about that. I think the most common programs are typically Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. I have never used Adobe Premiere before, so I can't really speak on how it works. Basically, why I decided one over the other is the cost. Adobe is a monthly subscription versus Final Cut Pro is a one-time purchase. And when I first started out, I did make videos with iMovie. iMovie comes pre-installed with your laptop if you have a MacBook, so that's a great option. That's basically free if you already have a MacBook. You can get a lot done with iMovie. I made the transition to Final Cut, I think like 6 months into making videos. So again, don't go and rush out to buy a $500 program. Another common editing app for your phone is actually CapCut. I think CapCut got popular because of TikTok and Reels and stuff like that, but I've also seen a lot of people editing long form videos with CapCut. When it comes to thinking about video ideas, the simplest advice I can give is make videos that you would want to watch yourself. If I'm a random person on the internet that knows nothing about me, would I click on this video? The second piece of advice, think about different pillars or content buckets that you want to make your videos within. For instance, when I first introduced myself to any of you guys that are new, I talk about my videos being lifestyle, productivity, self-development, and some of my YouTube journey. So those are already basically 4 buckets of videos. And if you go on my channel, you'll see that I do have playlists, which I think are great great ways to like categorize your videos so people can have one place to see all the types of videos within that specific bucket. Even if you're super niched, I think you can also think about different buckets of styles of videos within that niche. I found it really helpful to try to fit within one of these content pillars or content buckets. If someone finds you and decides they really like this type of video, at least they can have like a playlist of similar types of videos so they can binge that content. I have never done a series before, but I think it's kind of similar because the idea is to have people wanting to keep watching. If you have some sort of series like you're moving, then that's great. But for me, I think what's worked is having some sort of theme that continues in a playlist. So you are basically creating like a series of the type of videos. I also believe this is what will help establish your brand and consistency on your channel. It's important to know who are the people you want to attract to your channel. Some people call this your persona or your target audience. For me, honestly, I think my audience would be people that are in similar phases of their lives, have similar interests. So I try to really think about just making sure that each of the videos is something that I want to watch and fits within one of the buckets that I've established. I also think it's important to be an active viewer of the types of videos that you're trying to make. I've become super analytical about everything that I watch because I want to learn, like, this video did really well. What made that video work so well? How can I take that learning and make it my own? The reality is that there's basically zero content that is 100% original in the idea. Most things have been done before. There might be variations of it that are new, but for the most part, like, this type of video I'm making has been done a million times. Basically, my point is, like, watch content on YouTube as if you're learning and absorb everything that you're watching. Also try to come up with ideas from that, but make it your own. Next, we'll talk about filming and editing. Filming I'll talk about kind of quickly just because my setup is pretty straightforward. Like I said, I use natural light, so I don't have to set up big lighting. I do use a tripod, so I'll bring that and set it up. If I'm vlogging, then I'll usually do like a mix of sit down and walking around type of clips. I don't script my videos. The only thing I do to prepare for filming is write down all the key points that I want to talk about. I think that is important. I don't know about you, but it's very easy for me to ramble on and on and on, and at least having the key points that I know I want to touch on helps make sure that I stay on track. And then I just bring that with me. I'll have it on my phone so I can like look down at it sometimes. I'd also say that whether you have a built-in microphone or an external microphone, making sure the sound quality is good. Ironically, there's a siren that's passing me as I'm saying this, but otherwise just try to turn things off. Don't have music in the background or don't have the TV on. And then we get into editing. So I asked you guys on my community tab which topic you would be most interested in, and editing won by far. Just so you know, I feel like editing is probably the most time-consuming portion. I don't think you have to overly edit your videos to be successful. You can see there's a lot of channels that like don't have crazy graphics, super over-the-top editing, and they're still very successful. It really comes down to finding your own style. For my process, my first step is to take my SD card from my camera. The good thing about the laptop I have is there is an SD card reader. That's why I don't need to use an adapter. But if you don't have the SD card reader on your computer, then you'll need to get one of these things. Basically, that's how you'll connect your card to your laptop. I also transfer all the footage from my SD card to my hard drive. And then the next step is importing it all to Final Cut Pro. I usually load everything onto my timeline. I go through all the footage and I start to cut things out. I'll basically cut out any long pauses, any mistakes, any footage that can't be used. There's a lot of that, and that's just the reality of my videos. I do make a lot of cuts and I do jump around a lot. I prefer when my videos don't have really long pauses. That's why I cut a lot of stuff out, in case you're wondering. For each 20-minute video, I usually have about 2 hours of footage. Just getting all of the parts that I want to cut out removed is probably the biggest step for me. After I've chopped down all the clips, I start to add my text and on-screen graphics, things that I'll pop up on screen or words that I'll have. So I'll go through the full video and I'll do that. I'll just list a few resources of where I find things. For my fonts, I use mostly DaFont. They have a lot of free fonts. For transitions, there's a few that are built into Final Cut that I use a lot, like the slide, the circle one, which is also built into Final Cut. A couple other ones like the push one. I think those are the main ones. And then some of the other ones I use, like the light leaks effects. Those are actually purchased. You can get them at a few different places. Motion VFX has some packages which comes with like a few different options. If you're just starting out, I honestly don't think you need them to get started, but if you want to add a little more flavor and spice to your videos, once I've done all that, I basically start to color grade. So color grade, as the name suggests, where you start to edit the colors and basically give a color treatment to the videos. Color grading is when you'd probably need a more advanced program like Final Cut versus iMovie. I just think it's nice to have kind of like a filter on your video, and that's basically from color grading. There's a lot of tutorials about color grading. And then I also use LUTs. So LUTs, they stand for something. I don't know the definition of it. The ones I got are from a YouTuber. He has a package. You just need to like go through the steps and subscribe to his channel. So I'll link that also below. And then within the package, it comes with a bunch of different free styles, or you can also purchase some of them. Again, this isn't necessary. I didn't do this when I first started, but if you want to make the videos a bit more aesthetic, etc., then I would consider looking into how to color grade. Once I've figured out all the visuals, I'm kind of backwards in the sense that I don't add any music until I'm close to finish with my video. I'll start to add in some different soundtracks or sound effects. In case you don't know, you can't use any song that you want because you will get copyright claims on your videos. That basically means you won't ever be able to make money if you become eligible for the YouTube Partner Program. You do want to make sure that your music and any sounds that you use are copyright free. A few options for how to get copyright free music. One, you can look it up on YouTube and then you can download the MP3. I feel like it's kind of hard to find the right songs from using this approach because you'll have to look through quite a few, and sometimes you're still at risk of getting copyright claims. The other approach is signing up for music providers. I currently use Thematic. I'll put my link in the description. It's a referral link if you want to support my channel. Epidemic Sound is also really popular. I did use them previously. In terms of sound effects, I do mostly download these through YouTube. Just look up the sound effect you're looking for and then you can convert it to an MP3 and use it in your video. Again, just make sure that it is copyright free. I'll start to make my introduction. Most of my vlogs have the style of an intro where it shows a few clips of what's going to happen in the video. I mostly do that for vlogs because I think it'll help give people a better idea of what to expect in the video. I'll start to pull probably like 5 to 8 clips and then make it into an introduction. And then most of the content is ready. I sped up the process very quickly to explain this, but honestly, it is very time consuming for me. You don't need to take it as far as I do sometimes, but I think with so many videos on YouTube, editing is what can really help boost your video quality and make it more unique and more personal to your style of video. And then I'll basically rewatch the video about 10 times, maybe more. Just keep making little tweaks. I might start taking stuff out that I feel isn't really necessary or that I didn't really like. When it's finally ready, I'll export it. I'll save it as an MP4 usually, and then I'm ready to upload. Alright, we're in a different environment and it's actually a few hours later because this video is taking forever to film. After you finally have your video ready to go, feeling good about it, the next step is to obviously upload it. There are a few things that you need in order to do that. When I first started, I feel like these were afterthoughts because I was so focused on making the video, and then when it came time to uploading and having a thumbnail, a title, it was just whatever I could figure out in the moment. That's a big piece of advice, to actually think about these things before you even make your video. So let's talk about each of the pieces that you're gonna need. First is a thumbnail. A lot of people would argue that this is even more important than your actual video. I'm trying to be better at planning these. Basically, think of this as your very first impression on anyone that wants to watch a video. Really take the opportunity to make this stand out, trying to be as attention grabbing as possible. I would avoid being clickbaity, but still thinking about what would get someone to want to click on your video. There's a few different styles of thumbnails that I typically do, and I think they're pretty common across lots of lifestyle channels as well. The first is a good old collage. I've done these a bunch on my channel and I really like these for vlogs because I feel like it gives me opportunity to show different moments that will happen in the vlog. Another style that's also very popular is just a simple one frame. You can take a picture that's specifically made for the thumbnail, or some people take still frames within the video, so you'll basically just like screenshot a frame. Most of the times I'll put a title on the thumbnail itself yourself, because at least you can have like a bit more context of what's happening. It's a balance of keeping things simple and easy to understand. Especially on your phone, the thumbnails are so small, you're not going to see a lot of words and stuff like that. Honestly, I'm still experimenting, and there's literally courses about YouTube thumbnails out there. In terms of what I use to make my thumbnails, I currently use Photoshop. Photoshop is a program you have to purchase. Before I use Photoshop, I actually use Canva. Canva is completely free. There are some features that you have to pay for a subscription in order to access. For the most part, you can make your thumbnails, and there's templates available, so I would really recommend. Next to your thumbnail is your title. Titles are also a learning process for me, but what I can say is I've noticed there's two things you want to keep in mind. One is, are you grabbing people's attention, and is it drawing some sort of emotion or interest to have them want to click onto your video? So it's kind of similar to your thumbnail, except this case it's within a certain amount of words. Typically you should try to keep it shorter. I don't always follow that, but I do think keeping it straightforward and easy to read is important. The other piece which has helped me a lot is making your title searchable. Searchable is basically referencing how likely someone is able to find it through searching on YouTube. That's where you'll hear the phrase SEO, which is search engine optimization. I would highly suggest thinking about how to title your videos in a way that people are gonna naturally look for them, like comparing this versus that, or how to do this and how to do that. That said, I would encourage you to not only do how-to style videos, and the reason is if someone's only looking for tutorials or how to do things, then once they figured out how to do it, they might not come back. That's why going back to the different buckets or pillars of videos, I think it's important that you do keep your options open and you're offering a variety of things on your channel. Highly recommend using searchable themes and searchable ideas as a way to get yourself started. Also, on the topic of search and SEO, I wanted to talk about vidIQ. vidIQ is one of a few pretty commonly used tools in order to help with titles, description, and helping to make those more searchable. I believe I have a referral link, so I'll leave that in the description. It is free to use the most basic version. TubeBuddy is another option. The most useful things about these tools is being able to research keywords. So keywords are basically the terms that people are searching for. It'll help give you a ranked list. For example, if you're trying to come up with the title for a video and you want to know what you should include in your title, I often go to vidIQ, and then it'll show me how all of these other ways that you can phrase it would perform better or worse. I can't say it like completely changed my YouTube journey. I think it does take a combination of all the other things that I've talked about. In my descriptions, I'll just include usually a summary of what's happening in the video. I'll put timestamps as well. I don't think you need timestamps, but I do find I prefer to have timestamps in other people's videos, because if I'm kind of like, I don't want to be mean, but getting bored of a certain section, like you might be getting bored of this section, you can skip ahead to the next section. That's really, I think, the purpose of it, to have chapters so people know when things are happening. I mostly do this for longer videos. It's helpful because some people don't really know you. They don't want to watch the full 20 minutes, so if they're gonna skip out anyways, they might as well go to the parts that they enjoy. The rest of the description, I do have my links, I have my socials. I do recommend, if you eventually want to get brand deals, that you would include your email address and then your socials if you have other social media channels. A lot of times people will search for that in the description. There's a feature on YouTube, you can actually make a standard copy and paste. I have the same template that automatically populates every time I upload a video. That's a really big time saver. If you don't know about that, now you know. So the next thing, tags are also part of the upload portion of your video. If you have vidIQ or TubeBuddy, people also use that to help search for the best tags to include. I just feel like, again, it doesn't hurt. You might as well do it. Some people say it doesn't help that much. I have seen an improvement in terms of searchability from using tags, but you can't tag something that's not in your video. The YouTube algorithm will pick up on that, so I would say to just try to think of tags that are actually relevant. So now you have everything inputted, all your tags, titles, descriptions, thumbnail, and you can press publish. In terms of when you want to publish, some people say the time of day doesn't impact how well your video performs. I would disagree, especially for a smaller channel. If you have 100 subscribers, like that's still 100 subscribers, and if you're uploading on a day that not a lot of people are on YouTube that are subscribed to you, then you're missing out on potentially 100 views. Once you do start getting some subscribers, you'll be able to go onto YouTube Studio and you can see all the insights and all the data, and it can actually tell you when your audience is most likely on YouTube. I basically noticed that Sundays for me work the best because of my schedule. schedule. And then I also realized a lot of my audience is on Sundays a lot. So Sundays are my primary upload days, and it should vary from different channels. If you don't have those analytics, I also think it's good to think about the time of day for people. 12 p.m. or like lunchtime uploads are pretty common. People are having their lunch break. They might want to just watch a video. Weekends, I would say earlier in the day is pretty common, but it does vary. So I would say to play around with it and figure out what works best for your channel. Next, I wanted to cover all about growth, growing your channel. Since the video I made about my monetization journey, I did get several comments asking if I had any advice if you're just starting out. Even though I've been on the platform for 16 years, I've been on and off. That goes to show you I was also very defeated and discouraged. That's why I always say that it is easy to feel that way and it's normal because it takes time. I would say it even takes discipline. So let's get into that and I'll share some of my tips and advice. I'm not going to go through the YouTube monetization process or how to apply for that, even though it is a part of growing on YouTube, because I went pretty in depth on that in my other videos. So if you haven't watched that yet, I would recommend you go check that out. And in that video, we talk about all the steps, eligibility requirements, and stuff like that. But in terms of growing, I would say first that it's very easy to get caught up in the numbers because they're everywhere on YouTube. And when you have access to your YouTube studio, which is what you see as the uploader, you get to see how your videos perform, how they rank out of 10, when people stop watching your video, and it's a lot. It can feel very overwhelming. It can feel discouraging. My biggest advice is to not get caught up in that. Once you start uploading more, the data is helpful and it's there for a reason, but I also think that even now that I've uploaded for I think a year and a half now consistently, I still feel like I need to tell myself to stop looking at it because it also gets to your head. My advice is to think about everyone else who started and know that we've all had a first video or had a first 10 videos. The best part of learning and starting is you can do anything. There's no expectations, like I was saying earlier. That's when you can experiment. That's when you can try new things. You can learn new things. Ali Abdallah, who does a lot of videos also about starting YouTube, talks a lot about basically how many uploads it takes for you to get good. For me, I told myself I'd like to aim for 50 videos. It sounds like a lot, but I would also say that as you're continuing, another big piece of advice is actually think about how you can improve along the way when you're still figuring out how to get good. You can try new styles of thumbnails, you can try new sound effects or new editing styles. And then the next step is consistency. Also repeat it a lot, but consistency is key. I would say there's two parts, is consistency and also reflection and improvement. How many times you need to upload really depends. It depends on how much time you have, because if you factor in all the things that we just talked about, how many times can you do that in a week? Weekly is probably the minimum, which still seems like a lot, but just based off how much content is out there, people are on TikTok all day and people be pumping out TikToks like twice a day. That could never be me, but there's just so much content that I think having some sort of regular schedule that's within a week is my recommendation. So that's consistency. And I would say there are a lot of people that often feel like it's taking a really long time to grow and then aren't doing a consistent upload schedule. I know it's hard, I know it takes time, but that needs to be like one of the main things to prioritize, because not only will you get more videos out there, but you'll also start practicing more of the skills that you need in order to improve your videos. That leads me to my next part of this advice or tip, is actually reflecting and improving on the videos that you make. What I mean by reflecting is basically taking the time to watch back your videos. It seems narcissistic because who wants to watch themselves, but I like to remove myself from the situation. Would I want to watch this if I didn't know myself? Genuinely ask yourself, what makes this interesting? What could be improved? Think about how to make those improvements for your next video. And then when it comes to improving, there's so many little pieces that you can literally pick one thing each time to try to improve at least 1% better. It's like building habits. If you continue to incrementally make improvements, 50 videos later, if you've made 1% of a difference every time, it will only add up. When it comes to actually getting people to subscribe, this might be controversial, but I don't think there's a magic trick. I do think it's worth saying, I would appreciate if you subscribe, but also know that that's not what's gonna magically make people subscribe to you. What makes people want to stick around and see more of your videos is making videos that they care about. They've been binging a bunch of your videos and they're like, I'd love to see the next one. That's what makes people subscribe. But also, on the other hand, if you're just starting out, it doesn't hurt, especially if you're a new channel. It's worth mentioning that you're going to be making these videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them, that sort of thing. Also, it goes back to the consistency, because if someone goes to your channel and you might not have uploaded for the last 4 months, unfortunately, it kind of gives people a sign that you aren't gonna be uploading soon. What might drive people people to want to keep up with you. If they know that, oh, she's uploaded every week so far, then personally I feel like that makes me more interested because I know that I want to see the next one. It's coming up on Sunday, etc. It's about not just the number of people, but the quality of your audience. That's with any social media. It's not just about the number of followers and stuff. Focusing on a lot of the other things about making the best videos you can and learning and growing will naturally help the subscribers grow as well. For watch time, I think a few things that have helped me is keeping the video as engaging as possible. It's gonna look different for every type of video because a Mr. Beast, for example, is literally flashing text and animations and CG and everything, and that's not the production value that I'm gonna bring. There's other ways you can try to make things as engaging through the video as possible. The goal for this is so people don't click off. When I'm editing my video is I really start to take stuff out. I start with like 2 hours of footage and it gets all cut down. Really try to ask myself, if I knew nothing about me and I am watching this, would I, kind of doze off? Putting your video on a diet and cutting out the fat is the best analogy for what I'm trying to say. The goal, the ultimate goal, is someone can sit through the beginning to the end of your video. They don't know you and they're still engaged and interested. Another thing people often talk about is the length of your video. It really depends on the type of channel that you have and what you want people to know you for. Some of my favorite channels have videos that are like 40 minutes to an hour long, and I just enjoy having it on in the background, to be honest. It's like a podcast. If that's not the vibe for you, then that doesn't really help. I would say don't just make a long video for the sake of trying to get your watch time up, because at the end of the day, if people are clicking out after 2 minutes, then the algorithm is going to pick up on that. One of my subscribers asked about how to stay motivated, especially if there's slower growth. Try to remove yourself from the numbers for a while. That helps me think about why I actually want to make videos. What I love about making videos. I think the people that continue with YouTube for the longest are the ones that genuinely enjoy the process. I think you can learn to love it, but if you don't figure out how to enjoy it, it is going to be really, really hard. There's been times when I subconsciously found myself thinking like, I should have this many views by now. I had to remind myself that those things take time. If I'm happy with it and I keep going and I'm continuing to be consistent and I can improve 1% each video, you will grow. The rate at which you grow is really, really unpredictable. Here's my biggest advice if anyone's feeling this way, and what I would tell myself too. Actually, there's two things. I did hear these from other videos, but I want to repeat them. It only takes one video to blow up, one video to gain traction, and it can do wonders for your channel. Just keep that in mind. You never know which one that's gonna be. And there's been times that I've made videos and I thought this is the one, this is gonna blow up, and it doesn't. And there's other times that I made videos and I'm like, I mean, I enjoy it and I'm happy with it, but I don't think people are gonna want to watch it. And then they do. You never know when that one video is gonna happen. And then the second piece, I heard this somewhere, it's like YouTube is almost a lottery. Going back to what I said about your one video away. Whatever video that ends up being, you have to make the videos in order for it to happen. If you stick to a 1 video per week schedule, that's 52 videos in a year. You have 52 chances for a video to become extremely successful. Anytime that I would feel discouraged not to make a video, I'd remind myself, I'm kind of giving up on this lottery ticket here. You have 52 of those. That's what I told myself to try to keep pushing. I also gave myself kind of a time frame. First said I'd try to do this for a year. Really see what happens. I've felt discouraged. I've thought, what is this even for? But here I am. I really enjoy long form content. It's my favorite thing, to be honest. So I'm not gonna stop. And had I stopped at those times when I felt discouraged, I wouldn't have the channel I have now, the community that I have. It's not the biggest community, but I am grateful for every single one of you. And your journey is gonna look very different. Everyone's journey is gonna look different, and you can't compare yourself to others, is my last piece on that. The very last thing I did want to talk about is YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is one of the newer and shiny things that was introduced within the last couple years, but it really rolled out this year, especially with the monetization behind it, so you can now make money from shorts. If you've seen some of the numbers I shared from my first paycheck / monetization video, you'd know that I got a few cents from it so far. And also a lot of other people would say the same. So do I think YouTube Shorts works, and would I recommend it if you're trying to grow your channel? I would say maybe. I am very passionate about long form, so this might be biased. I just find myself gravitating towards long form. That said, in terms of short form, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's only going to keep growing depending on where you want to take your channel and what you want your creator journey to look like. It would be worth investing in making some short form content, or at least practicing how to do it. Just adding some diversity is really my whole point. My current strategy that I would also recommend if you're just starting out, if you want to grow your YouTube channel for long form videos, I would say majority of your time should be focused on that, and that's why majority of my time is focused on long form videos. To diversify, 20% of my time I do make some shorts. The reason why a lot of people talk about shorts when you want to grow is because it's being pushed so much from YouTube. It's the new product. You're gonna get a lot of views on it. I would just think about what type of channel you want to be known for. Shorts viewers and long form viewers can be very different, and it's kind of like thinking about how you consume TikTok. Shorts is the same scrolling feed. The way that the views count is actually from being pushed on a feed, versus if you think about long form, the way that you get views is if someone actively decides to click on it. That said, if you are really passionate about short form content, maybe you make TikTok currently and you want to continue that on YouTube, then this is probably the best time to do it because it's still pretty new to YouTube. But if you really want to grow your channel through long form, I would avoid investing too much of your time into shorts if that's not the main goal for you. The main thing that I do when I do post shorts is to try to use that to drive people to my channel and to my long form videos. That's my advice to you guys as well. I think I've covered everything. I feel like this is the most I've ever talked in a video, so I hope this was helpful. I hope this answered some of the questions you guys have asked and also gives you some more insight on how I approach videos. Let me know if you guys have any questions or any tips of your own in the comments, and to check out other videos on the screen, and I'll see you guys next time.